Hi, I'm Miss Hocking, and today I'm reading for you On the Same Day in March, a tour of the world's weather. It's by Marilyn Singer and illustrated by Fran Lisak. Okay, now have a think about the globe, and on the same day in March, all around the world, you will see what it is like. I hope you enjoy. In the Arctic, polar bears ride on floes of ice, stalking seals, wishing fish, as the 6-month sun begins to rise slowly in the Arctic skies on the same day in March. In Alberta, Canada, just when you can't even remember spring, that whale Chinook blows in like a dragon, and quicker than you can say the medicine hat, the biggest snow fort ever is nothing but a dragon-shaped patch in somebody's backyard. Same day in March. In Paris, France, the sun slips out, still winter pale, but all over the city, at bus stops and markets, on small streets and grand boulevards, people hurrying to work or school, people huddled in their coats and scarves, sitting in outdoor cafes and sipping chocolate, all of them turn up their faces to enjoy the sunshine smile on the same day in March. In New York City, it's too grey to play outside today. The parents sigh, the little kids complain, but the basketball players stay in the schoolyard, arguing what's worse, snow or sleet or freezing rain on the same day in March. In the Texas Panhandle, they say it was just a tiny twister, not big enough to spin a horse or hoist a cow, but it did suck up a bucket of water and give Grandma's dirty old truck the first-hand wash it's had in weeks on the same day in March. In the Nile Valley, fog threads through the temples. In a Louisiana bayou, fog settles on the swamp on the same day in March. In Zion, China, in the park, the old men and small children guess, what will the wind carry today? Clouds of blue-winged swallows, dust that hurts their eyes, rain from up in the mountain, kites shaped like butterflies on the same day in March. In Darjeeling, India, hailstorms all over the hillside. No one is happy, except little sister, who thinks the moon has broken and scattered its necklace of pearls on the same day in March. In central Thailand, it's too hot to plant rice, it's too hot to pick rice, but it's not too hot to spell R-I-C-E, rice, on the blackboard in the school on the same day in March. In Dakar, Senegal, sunlight sparkles on the market. In Barbados, sunlight dazzles on the sand on the same day in March. In northern Kenya, the rains come and all in one day they leave a gift of a river. Everyone hurry, come drink, come play, before the sun shines and all in one day takes a river away on the same day in March. In the Amazon basin, Brazil, Grandpapa is always late. The rain is always on time, arriving at 3 o'clock yesterday, 3 o'clock tomorrow, 3 o'clock today. Only the weather wears a watch, Grandpapa likes to say, whenever he or the rain makes everybody wait on the same day in March. In Darwin, Australia, board up the windows, bring in the boat. Better to be like crocodiles crouched on the shore than be out sailing the sea when the willy-willies come to call on the same day in March. In Patagonia, Argentina, over the wide dry plain, autumn shears the clouds like a flock of sheep. Catch the wool, Mama teases her younger son. He doesn't understand why these white puffs vanish wet and cold in his fat, warm hands on the same day in March. In Antarctica, penguins scramble on the shore, seeking mates, missing fish, as the 6-month sun begins to slice down below the Antarctic ice, all on the same day in March. Now that is the end of the story. This is some information from the author. It takes the Earth 365 days, 1 year, to make a complete trip around the sun. The Earth does not sit straight up and down in the heavens. It tilts on its axis, an imaginary line running through the centre. The top of the axis is the North Pole, the bottom is the South Pole. As the Earth orbits, sometimes the North Pole tips towards the sun, and sometimes it tips away from the sun. This tilt is what gives us the seasons. In March, winter turns into spring in the northern hemisphere, and summer turns to fall in the summer hemisphere. Fall is the same as autumn for us. The North Pole will soon lean closer to the sun, giving the Arctic 6 months of daylight and warm weather. The South Pole will lean farther and farther away from the sun, slipping Antarctica into 6 months of darkness and bitter cold. On any given day in March, somewhere in the world, it may be raining, snowing, or hailing. It may be sunny, foggy, or windy. There are places where the weather doesn't change much throughout the year. For example, in the equatorial rainforest, it is hot, humid, and it does not rain at the same time every day. There are other parts of the world where the weather can sometimes change from hour to hour. New York City, where I live, is one of those places. From Marilyn Singer.